All right. So here's the setup. My friend calls me up. He says his wife finished this book that she's been working on for the past couple of years. Can I take a look at it, do some editing and some formatting? I'm not an editor or a formatter, but I'll give it the old college try. So I say, yeah, why not? Send it over. So I'm looking at this thing and, I'm trying to make minor edits here and there and format the pages the way I think that they should be. But I really don't know what I'm doing. I know my way around Microsoft Word a little bit, but not to the level that I would need to know it in order to properly format a book. So what do? I do what anybody would do. I turn to YouTube and I type in how to properly format a Word document for publishing. And this video pops up right here. Book formatting tutorial, and this is by Kindlepreneur. It says how to format a book in Word, a step-by-step tutorial. So I watched the video and he gives some good tips and he tells you what to do. And at the end of the video, he pushes this online software called Atticus. Now, Atticus is a program designed specifically for authors in which they can either compose in the software itself or they can import files and it'll format it pretty much automatically for you. And then you can make edits and tweaks along the way as you see fit. So we're actually going to take a look at Atticus and here it is. So you have these options here. You could upload a book, you can start a new book, you can create a new box set. Now, this is the book I've been working on. It's called Thou Shalt Flourish, right? So I go to do the whole thing, and I'm not going to show too much because it's proprietary information and it's not published yet. But, you know, I have all of this stuff, and I'm thinking, great, this is what I need. This is exactly what I need. It takes all the heavy lifting out of it for me, except it doesn't. I watched some tutorials on it, I watched some reviews. People speak very highly of the software. So I thought to myself, maybe it's worth a try. Now, there's a cost associated with it, though, and it's not a little bit of money. This is a $147 program. This is a $147 program for something that I may never use again. So I thought about that. I said, is it worth it for me to invest this $147 into doing a favor for my friends? Ultimately, I said yes, because A, I want to help them out. B, I know my wife is working on something and she's going to want to print it someday. So it's good to have this. And then C, I think I have a couple of books in me somewhere. When they'll come out, I have absolutely no idea. But I figure, let me invest the money now and then I'll have this forever because this is a buy once, cry once type of situation. And he promises free updates for as long as the program's around. Now, if that's actually going to happen, who knows? People promise that all the time. There was a time when you owned your copy of Adobe, but then they turned to the cloud and subscription services. And I know people who legitimately owned Adobe and now it's no longer in use. It's obsolete. They can't update it, they can't upgrade it. They need a cloud subscription. So will Atticus go that way? Probably, if I'm being totally honest. But when I got into the program, I imported a Word document. Now, again, I watched this gentleman's video and I followed his instructions and I formatted the document. And it was very weird. It was very clunky. It created all kinds of chapters where there shouldn't have been chapters. The formatting was off, the layout was off, everything was off about it. So I went through and in Atticus itself, I made the corrections. I edited everything to format it to the way that I want it. Then I go into the settings and, you can choose your different settings. I'll leave it to you to look up Atticus on YouTube and watch videos where people explain how to use the program and they show all of its features. That's not what this video is about. This video is the stuff that they won't tell you. This is the quirkiness of this software, if you will. It's glitchy, very glitchy. So like I said, I upload my Word document and I find that there's chapters where there shouldn't be chapters. This is a book with 10 chapters, I believe, plus an introduction, a foreword, it has a table of contents, a couple of endnotes. I threw a bibliography in there, but not 40 or 60 something chapters. I forget how many it generated when I put it in. So I figured, listen, it's probably my fault, right? I probably made the mistake. I probably did not format it properly. Except I did what the guy said. But anyway, I went back and I watched another tutorial on how to format Word documents for publication. And I did that stuff too. And I put it in, and it was a little better. It was a little better. And then I realized some of the mistakes that I made. But this wasn't perfect either. And there was a lot of editing within Atticus itself that I had to do in order to get things to start looking right. But then I decided, well, why don't I just cut and paste what I need from the document into Atticus and then work from there? Do it in small sections. Well, I go on their frequently asked questions page and it says that you can't do that because if you don't import it, then Atticus isn't going to read it properly and it's going to create some problems in the code and then it won't display right. Well, I definitely experienced that, but shame on me for not reading the FAQs first, right? That's not the only issue though. Once I get all that sorted out, once I have the Word document to it's at least close to the way that I want it, I upload that and then, I edit within the program and you got to look at the preview and see how it lays on the page and stuff like that and then make your minor adjustments. Well, that's an issue cuz right off the bat, I was looking at Atticus in Safari and Safari is not generating the preview page and it's just hung. It's stuck there. It's not doing anything. It's just spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. So I refresh the page. I close the program out. I open it back up. Same thing. Can't get away from it. So what do? I go to Chrome, right? And this is all on my laptop, mind you. I go to Chrome on my laptop. No more problem. It's working perfectly. So I'm like, okay, this plays better with Google than it does with Safari. Not a problem. I'll just use it in Chrome. So I'm doing my edits. And then I'm noticing that as I'm changing chapter titles, it's reverting back instantly. As I'm removing, because you have the option for the chapter to be numbered when it shows up on the page, or you can remove the number. So in the case of the forward, I don't want it to say chapter 1 forward. I want it to just say forward. I remove the number. But as soon as I go to do anything else, it pops back up and says chapter 1 forward. So I do it again, and I'm talking about dozens of times. Dozens of times. And this is with a lot of the chapters. This wasn't just one. So I would make an edit and it would revert back. And there was nothing I could do. I just had to keep doing it and doing it and doing it until finally it stuck. So that was annoying. But then, now I'll go back to the screen so you can see what's going on here. Then, I get it to the place where I think that I want it. And I go to say, you know what? Let me duplicate this. Let me make a duplicate. That way I can have one for print and then I can have another one for ebooks and I can make little tweaks to the one for ebooks because you don't need a page that says page intentionally left blank for an ebook. There's not going to be pages like that. For this one, I need that because we need certain things to fall on certain pages, right? So I do all of that. I make this copy. Then I go back to the original to make some edits. And I find that everything I had done in the original had somehow reverted to some earlier version once I made the duplicate. So now I have to comb through the whole book again to find out where the issues were and for me to correct them. It was ridiculous. I couldn't explain it. And then, as if that wasn't bad enough, I finally get it to a place where it's decent and I could send her over a copy to look over. Well, now I go to export the EPUB file so I could take a look at it on a phone or on a tablet. And the first one, it's decent, right? No problem. But then I make some tweaks and I do another one. Now I lost an entire chapter. So now let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so here is my iPad. Now you're going to see two copies of the book right here. So this one to the right, this should have been the first edition. So we open this up and you see here, phase 1, this is the first section, the burnout and the ashes and the problem. Then you have a page intentionally left blank. And then it starts with chapter 1. And you could see chapter 1, perfect, no issues. But now I made a couple of tweaks and I go to export another one. So here's the second one. Again, phase 1, no problem, page intentionally left blank. chapter 1, and then it goes immediately to chapter 2, and it deleted an entire chapter. It deleted an entire chapter for no reason. I can't explain why that happened. I didn't do anything other than make some tweaks. So, with that said, I had to go to work for the morning. Highly annoyed that that happened. I get back home. I go into the program. The chapter is still there in the editor. So, I make some other changes that I have to make. I go and look at the preview. It seems to be there in the preview. And I export it and it's fine. And then I had to do a bunch more exports. Um, so, if we were to take a look at the exports, see them down here. Now I'm blocking it a little bit, but you can still see it behind me. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 exports just today, and that's not including the ones that I deleted. Because I deleted some of them. When you click this X, it gets rid of everything you've exported. So all of that to say that in all of those exports, and I have plenty more, I probably have 2 dozen exports just on my hard drive alone from different tweaks. And, I have to see how it looks and how it's going to print. But with all of that, something happens every time I export it. And it takes time and time and time again for it to actually come out right. And the tweaks that I make in the program should show up when I export it, and they don't always, or sometimes they show up improperly. So I can't imagine that it's something on my end because I've been doing my tweaks within their editor. I'm not copying and pasting from Word. I'm not copying and pasting from the internet. I'm not copying and pasting from anywhere. I uploaded the Word document the way that I was instructed to, and then I'm making my edits from within Atticus itself. And yet, all of this glitchy stuff keeps happening, and it's super frustrated. And if I'm honest, the interface is a little clunky. It's somewhat intuitive, but it's a little clunky. It's not incredibly fast. Like I said, it's glitchy. And then when you go to generate the previews, it takes a while. And then I mentioned how it would get hung up when I was looking at it in Safari. Well, it started doing the same thing in Chrome. So what would I have to do? I would have to let me I actually um I hesitate to even do it with my friend's book. So let's do this. Here we go. Let me see if I can show you what I'm talking about this way. So let's go back here. Let me create a new book. Start a new book, right? Title test. Author Nick. And then we're going to start this new book, right? Now, chapter title test 1. Subtitle for YouTube review. Start writing. This is a review about Atticus's works. Okay. Now you see that. So up here, I'm in the writing mode. Now you could see the interface, right? It's not the most beautiful thing. As somebody who wrote in WordPress for years, this isn't even on WordPress's level, right? It's a stripped down version of kind of Microsoft Word or something like that. It's really, it looks almost like the Notes app on your iPhone, but it's not even that nice. So aesthetically, it's not great, but whatever, it gets the job done. But I'm in the writing mode. Now, if I go to formatting, this is where it shows. Let me see if I can make this larger. I cannot. Here we go. I did make it a little larger. So let's zoom in here. So formatting, it gives you all of these different themes that you could choose from. Now let's just say, so this is the one I use for my friend's book, but let's say I want to try this. Test 1. Okay, great. Now you see we have the chapter here. So it calculates the page count and it shows 5 pages, and it does that very quickly. That's with one sentence, right? It moved quickly for one sentence. But when you have an entire book and it only shows you a chapter at a time, which again, I'm totally fine with, still, it took a while to generate. So, okay, but what happens when it gets hung? Well, I got to wait for it to spin and spin and spin, refresh the page, same thing. I'll change from print to iPad. It shows you that on the iPad. But then I go back to print. And then as this is happening, right, it would either show or it wouldn't show. And in the event that it didn't show, I would have to change one of the other things, get that to pop up, and then go back to the original one that I wanted just to see what the preview was and what I wanted. So again, pretty annoying. Pretty annoying. Wasn't super happy with that. Now, I do like that you could just click on this test and it'll generate a PDF file for you and you can see what it looks like. So here you have that. That's great. No complaints there. But here's another complaint. My friend's book had tables in it, or had a table, had a table and a graphic. The way that Atticus handles graphics, not terrible, not the best, but it doesn't have any support for tables. So I had to figure out, how is it that I'm going to get this table in there? Could I create columns of some sort within the editor? I couldn't. It's not an option. You can't add a table, you can't make columns. Just couldn't do it. So then I'm racking my brain, racking my brain, racking my brain. And ultimately, what I ended up having to do was I had to do it in Word, take a screenshot of that, kind of edit it down, and then insert it as a graphic into Atticus. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a hassle. That's a problem. Why would there be no table support in an editor like this? It is a word processor at the end of the day. And what word processor do you know in 2025 that doesn't have support for generating tables? Plenty of authors use them. All types of literature makes use of tables, and yet you can't do that in Atticus. So I say all that to say this. They offer a 30-day money back guarantee, I believe. I might take them up on that. I just might. I might end up keeping the program and hope that they make updates to it and I don't have to deal with this stuff anymore. But to be honest, my experience using this program for the past 3 days, it's not overly intuitive. The interface is somewhat dated and clunky. The user experience has not been fantastic. The the help page is not very much help at all. There's not a lot of questions that are answered. Now, I haven't contacted their support yet, so I can't speak to their customer service or their support staff, but I can say that what they have on the website is basically the equivalent of, don't cut and paste, upload a Word document. Fine. But even uploading the Word document, you have to do a lot of formatting in the document before you upload it to Atticus. And then once you upload it to Atticus, you can make your minor edits. All in all, quite honestly, I don't know who I would recommend this to. I don't know that I want to really continue using it, but I got to get my friend's book done. So I'm going to tough it out until the book is done. And then, we'll see where I go from there. But I'm just saying this, buyer beware, right? For all of the positive reviews that are out there on YouTube, I haven't seen any that have had the issues that I've had. And maybe I'm just not fortunate. I don't know. But I can say that I've had plenty of issues with this program and it's only been a couple of days. So, with that said, prayerfully you found this useful. If you're thinking about getting Atticus, hopefully this helps you to make an informed decision. I don't know how it stacks up to Scrivener or whatever the other program that's out there is. I don't know how it stacks up to Adobe InDesign. I could say this, for formatting, it makes the formatting easy once the work is done within the thing. But doing the work within the editor has been a pain for me. And I'm not talking about user error. I'm talking about, again, generating chapter numbers after I remove them, totally deleting things that I've typed, putting back the word chapter after I've removed it, undoing edits that I've made. This is not stuff that I've done. This is what the program has done on its own. Removing entire chapters when I go to export, so on and so forth. And then there's just certain formatting issues within the program. Now, when I originally did the page intentionally left blank, I had it up at the top of the page and I didn't like how that looked. So I said, okay, I'll try to go further down on the page, center it somewhat. So I spaced everything 9 spaces. I hit the return key 9 times. With every instance of the phrase page intentionally left blank. And you would think that would solve the issue. Now, look, here it is on one page. And then the next time I do it, there it is down there. Now, down here is where it needs to be, right? This is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for it to be up here. Every instance other than this one is like this. And it's highly annoying that that one is off. And I've gone back and I've tried to space it. I've deleted the page break. I've re-added the page break. I've done 9 times. I've added extra spaces to it, and I just can't get that one to line up. And there's nothing that I can do. That was done within the software itself. That was done in Atticus. That wasn't a mistake that I made in Microsoft Word. So little stuff like that just irks me. But once again, I pray that you found this useful. I pray that it helps you in making your decision if you are looking at something like Atticus. And I'm not trying to take the guy's customers away or tell them not to get the program. If you're willing to deal with a little bit of headache, or in my case, a lot of headache, in order to get your desired result, by all means, give it a try. Like I said, they're offering a 30-day money back guarantee. So what do you got to lose? Anyway, I'm Nick. This is Riley Dividing the Word of Truth. That's the review. Thanks for watching. God bless.